Ken, one other issue we ought to talk about before we wrap this up, and that is energy. We face a potentially cold winter this year. There is obviously going to be a difficulty for people on lower fixed incomes to pay for their fuel oil. And then, of course, the bigger picture. What do we do in Maine? How can we do our part to become less dependent on foreign oil?
This is a huge problem. It's a national problem. It's not just a problem for Maine. And it has to do with years and years of policies that have impeded research and development of existing energy, but also that have been a mishmash of different programs looking for alternative energy without really unleashing the power of entrepreneurs to go out there and find new sources of energy. Finally, we're seeing a little bit of a crack in that. Wind power is starting to take off. We're seeing more and more of that. I think there are some great possibilities for tidal power here in the state of Maine.
Absolutely.
I think developments of that sort, from what I've read, in fact, I was going around talking to prospective constituents, and someone told me about an experiment off the coast of Hawaii using tidal power and buoys and so forth, and I went and looked it up on the internet. It seems to be really very promising, and I don't see why we can't do something like that in Maine.
Well, as a matter of fact, the Maine Maritime Academy has been working with some entrepreneurs and some scientists, I think off Castine, if I'm not mistaken. There's another huge project in New Jersey that I read about recently, taking advantage of the tidal flow. And certainly if you go further down east, where you have, 60-foot tides in the Bay of Fundy, and in very high tides, the further you go down east, one would assume a tremendous opportunity for producing energy that we haven't even begun to tap into yet.
Yeah, another thing I'd like to see done is I'd like to see the public advocate, the public utilities advocate, include in their publishing of utility rates to also publish prices of heating oil, because there seems to be a wide range and variant of different heating oil prices.
It doesn't make any sense just driving up and down Route 1. It's amazing how much variation there is.
Exactly, and people can get better prices if they shop around, but they need the information, and they need the ability to do that. Also, I'd like to see the LIHEAP program administered more locally than it is. I think the governor made a big mistake by trying to centralize the LIHEAP program with the Maine State Housing Authority. The result has been over $1 million in overhead expenses, which just simply didn't exist when the CAP agencies did it within their existing budgets. So that's become a duplication of effort, and I'd like to see LIHEAP go back to being administered locally by the community action program agencies.
You know, another thought I had is that when fuel assistance is given, I think there needs to be hand in hand some effort to provide people with some knowledge about how to save energy, how to insulate their homes, maybe some assistance to do that. Because we know that many of the poorer homes in the state are also the least energy efficient, and it might help people to save and over time allow us to stretch our LIHEAP dollars further if we could encourage weatherization and other energy-saving techniques at the same time.
That's very true. I'd also like to see LIHEAP branch out into pellets and pellet stoves.
Yes.
I think there's an opportunity there. There's a Maine grown product, and a lot of folks have been looking at pellet stoves because they're really very attractive given the high oil prices. And if we can help people get into pellet stoves, and it could encourage the LIHEAP program to be able to serve more people with an existing resource.
Well, and that's a business opportunity also, the production of pellets. I read an article in the paper recently that some people feel a supply issue. Well, no reason for us to run out of wood pellets in Maine. We're made out of wood pellets. So there again, opportunity at the same time that we face these other challenges. Well, Ken, that's about all the time we have for our interview and discussion, but before we conclude this part of the program, what committee assignments do you anticipate during the next legislature, and what would you most like to work on when you're reelected?
Well, I want to go back to the Insurance and Financial Services Committee. I think I did a lot of good work there. We made a lot of progress in the 122nd legislature. Unfortunately, in this legislature, the 123rd, things really ground to a halt. There was a lot of partisan gridlock going on there. I'd like to serve on that committee again. I think I have a lot to offer there and a lot of background knowledge and expertise. Another committee assignment that has been mentioned that I think it attracts me just because of some of my other interests is the Legal and Veteran Affairs Committee. I'm interested in elections process. I'm interested in making ballot access easier for candidates. I'd also like to see reform in the state-funded Clean Elections Program, which I think, again, well-intended, designed to open up access, but has
instead it's opened up the Treasury.
Right. It's you know, we've had candidates go to jail because of their misappropriation of those funds and spent over $23 million in taxpayer funds. It's not self-financed at all. It's come right out of the general fund to pay for political campaigns. I think that's probably not the most appropriate use of taxpayer dollars.
Well, as a matter of fact, in conclusion, I will just simply note that I was the last Republican House Chair of Legal Affairs Committee, and that was a very long time ago for anyone who cares to remember.
Well, that must have been a great challenge serving on that committee.
It was fun. It was a good committee, and it did a lot of interesting things. And we didn't have all the election bills then, but we did. I think we had the bottle bill. We had. Well, I'm never going to remember all the bills, but it was a fascinating committee with a lot of interesting results. Well, Ken, I really appreciate the chance to come and talk about these issues with you and your constituents, and good luck on November 4th.
Thank you, David. Thank you for coming.